He's making a list, he's checking it twice. He's gonna find out who's naughty or nice. Donnie Claus is going to town.
Hey, how are you? Welcome back to Drop a Pin, a very special Christmas edition of Drop a Pin, because we're dropping a pin in the North Pole. And I'm here with two very special guests, Santa Claus.
Hello, hello.
And Miss Claus.
Still a ho-ho. We're just ho-ho-hoing over here for this episode. Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, we're familiar with the North Pole.
We are.
We're very well versed, but this will be your first time.
Yeah, I mean, we have had guests on the show that have actually been to the North Pole. That may have made more sense, but no, we're going going with the Clauses.
Yeah.
Don't worry, I Googled it yesterday.
Yeah, same here.
Expert.
I did some Googling. This might be the geographic location we've done so far that I'm least familiar with. Actually, no, that probably goes to Chad.
Yeah,
But-
I was not familiar with Chad at all. But I think it's okay to not be familiar with the North Pole because not a whole lot's going on.
No, there's not even land up there.
No, I didn't know that at all, that it was complete ice cap. I thought there would be some sort of land.
No.
And
Yeah,
it's
nothing.
It's not even complete ice cap. It's 6 to 12 feet of ice that is constantly shifting. So wherever the North Pole, if you were to put a flag on it right now where the direct axis is, it would be moved way out of the way within 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Always changing. 13,000 feet of water underneath it, folks.
And I already read that it moves 34 miles towards Russia every single year.
No way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the magnetic North Pole. So the geographic North Pole is always in the same spot, but the magnetic North Pole changes all the time. I think at one point the magnetic North Pole was over some land, maybe in northern Canada or something. But yeah, no, now it's over the sea and it's moving closer to Siberia every year.
I went down a giant rabbit hole on the magnetic North Pole last night because, one, I'll be honest with you guys, I didn't know that was a thing. People were reminding me of boot camp when they're like, hey, didn't you do land nav and the compass and all that shit? And I did, but I don't think I never thought about why the compass points or what. I'm an idiot is what I'll say.
Yes.
Did you know the poles flipped once, 800,000 years ago, the magnetic north and south?
Yeah, because I've heard a lot of people worried that it's going to happen again soon. And by soon, maybe in the next 500, 1,000 years, but it will cause mass calamity if that happens.
That's probably what they expected from Y2K.
Yeah.
It would probably be like real life Y2K.
It was like a giant polar flip. Well, I went down. I didn't realize there's a whole world of conspiracy theorists all about the magnetic poles and all that stuff. In 2019, the magnetic pole and true north aligned for the first time in 360 years. But normally those 2 points, true north and magnetic north, are over 1,000 miles away from each other, which is just nutty. I had no idea. The more you know.
Yeah.
I gotta say, your North Pole facts are gonna slap so much harder when you're dressed like that.
I know.
You look exactly like you know what you're talking about.
I do. I hope I sound like it. I don't
No,
know if
you
you
do,
can't
yeah.
see me. Please no. But I went down a huge rabbit hole on the our magnetic poles, the magnetic north and south, and it's because the middle of the Earth is iron, and the middle is the size of the moon. It's solid, and then there's this outer metal core, and the way it moves, it's like a convection oven, and that's why it creates this energy that creates the magnet whatever, and that's why it shifts because it's liquid, and that's why it's
Yeah.
moving. I didn't know any of this shit. Sorry. My mind was blown last night. I didn't know.
Yeah, I know our magnetic field protects us from harmful solar radiation. So if the poles shifted for a bit, we would be just exposed to tons of solar radiation, which
We'd be like Mars, basically.
Yeah, I don't know if it would be how fucked we'd be. I mean, it wouldn't be a fun time to be alive.
Very
but-
fucked. I read that if I was reading from Brian Johnson, you know who that is? He's
Long
like
time
the
stoolie, yeah.
British version of Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Okay.
And he was talking about magnetic poles and how it's absolutely so important for life on Earth, and that's one of the biggest differences for our planet versus other planets is that if our magnetic core was 4% lighter than it is right now, then our planet would be way more cold, and if it was 4 degrees more, we would be scorched to death.
That's something fun to think about at the holidays.
Yeah,
Hug your
The sweet
families.
spot.
Yeah.
Enjoy them now.
that's the real naughty list.
Yeah.
All right, well,
Yeah.
focusing on the North Pole where you guys came from, it's a pretty new phenomena that Santa Claus is associated with the North Pole. I think in the 1900s you guys moved up there.
Yeah.
And it's all due to one dude by the name of
Thomas Nast, the cartoonist.
Yeah.
Yes. Everybody had like other countries in Europe. I think Europe was the first one to get hot on Santa. They had their own version of Santa. I think in Sweden he would come in the night and like claw your children to death, fun stuff like that, right? And then because of American and European expeditions back in the mid 1800s started really picking up, like our interest in the poles and doing all this stuff. It was like the height of popularity. And so he was like, I'm going to make my cartoon Santa live at the North Pole just for the hell of it. And it took off.
Yeah, I think he's also the guy that kind of first painted Santa Claus wearing the red suits that you guys are in right now. He kind of is responsible for the modern American image of Santa.
And these were actually brought to you by our friends at Roback.
Oh, nice.
That's where we got it. Yeah.
I like the quarter zip. Grandma Santa. And he also made Santa overweight, which is ahead of his time. He wasn't fat shaming. He said, look
true.
at this guy. He delivers all the presents in the world. Bad cholesterol, and it's fine.
Yeah. Big butter guy.
Huge butter guy. Well, that's my fault.
Yeah, it is.
Cookies.
Yeah.
So the modern Santa Claus, he's kind of a combination of a lot of pagan traditions and Christian traditions. So the Christianity comes in with Saint Nick. Do you guys know anything about Saint Nick?
I actually don't. I didn't realize that was a real saint.
He was a real saint. He was from Turkey.
I'll be damned.
Yeah.
Is he the patron saint of hair plugs? Is that? Or you boys better be praying to Saint Nick.
No, Saint Nick was the patron saint of children because I think he was like known for giving gifts to children. He also saved 3 girls from being forced into prostitution.
Shout out Santa.
Good guy.
Yeah.
Good
Shout
guy
out Saint Nick. Yeah.
Because he would drop a sack of gold coins through the window of their house each night so their father could pay for a dowry for each of them and not have to sell them into prostitution.
Okay.
Wow.
I guess those were your only 2 choices. You either had enough money to find your daughter a husband or they were off to the whorehouse.
So maybe life is better
Yikes.
these days a little bit.
Yeah, I like our
know.
Christmas tradition way better.
I think
Yeah.
Saint Nick, he also had a YouTube channel where he caught pedophiles, right? He was like super popular.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, he was a good guy.
That's the only time you want Santa dropping sack on children, right?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
It also, another famous legend, he resurrected 3 children who had been murdered and pickled in brine by a butcher planning to sell them as pork during a famine.
One thing that I've known from researching this, across the globe, some of the traditions that they had around holidays are so fucked up.
Yeah.
Like they're just disturbing.
Yeah.
Like how was that something at some point where people rallied around that?
Yeah, it's wild.
Is that why we find the pickle on the tree every year? The pickled children of the...
Wait,
could
is
be.
there a pickle on a tree?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
You didn't know? It's like the tradition.
I never practiced that growing up.
It was actually like the German tourism board made it up, and they were like, this is the most German thing you can do. Every year they hide, they pretended, I guess, like we all hide pickles on our tree, and then whoever finds the pickle first on Christmas morning gets a special present. And Americans ate that shit up. And so now, like, we have a pickle on our tree every year. Like,
Does yours sing?
no.
We have a singing pickle.
But, like, they sold a shit ton of pickle ornaments, like a motherfucker. And it's like, I'm going to say 1 in 5 trees in America have a pickle.
Oh, I bet that's rookie numbers.
Yeah.
I think 2 out of 5.
But it's a big thing. And, like,
Yeah.
me and my brother used to, like, push each other out of the way trying to find the pickle, so we got the special pickle gift.
You got to use a real pickle, though. You can't be using a pickle ornament.
People use ours is bedazzled.
Ooh, okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I guess you don't want to leave just a real pickle hanging on the tree for a few weeks.
Yeah.
Probably would get
It might be okay.
a little moldy.
No,
pickle.
pickle should, like with all the vinegar, it should be
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, put a real pickle on your tree.
I think even the tradition of Christmas caroling has some darker roots. Like during the Christmas season, people used to just practice home invasions where they would just kind of like barge into the wealthy people's homes in the neighborhood and demand like food and money.
I love that.
And the kids only know when they look over and see the same gold tooth shine.
Yeah. And they would, I'm sure they would sing some songs too, but then they were like, okay, let's like chill with the whole home invasion thing. Let's just like stand on someone's front steps and sing songs.
We actually, on December 24th, if anyone is free, we're invading Big Cat's house. And we're going to,
Yeah.
Did you guys ever do caroling growing up?
Yes, with my Life Teen church group. We had to go
Life teen?
buddy. It was a
What
whole
the hell is
to-do.
a life teen?
Actually,
church?
Fred Mascherino of Taking Back Sunday's mom was our life teen leader. Not
Oh,
to brag.
wow.
Yeah, I don't
Does
wanna
Nate
brag.
know that?
I don't know. He might.
That's his guys, you know.
Oh, I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
he's one of his favorite. And Robbie Fox.
Well, I'll have to tell them. But anyway, she was the choir director, but she was also our life teen youth group leader. And because she loved singing, we'd have to go caroling every Christmas. We'd go like around the neighborhood, around the church, singing songs. And yeah.
We definitely did it a lot when I was
most
in
of the
Bible
time-
school.
Yeah, nobody even came to their, like, nobody gave a shit. We just, how about you? You had to do it too?
Bible school, we did it all the time.
Yeah.
That was probably like our personal New Year's Eve, like where you just go out and you just sing your heart out.
Yeah.
But I think Annalise, my wife, had it worse than anybody I've ever heard of. Her dad is like the weirdest dude ever. Like just likes to do weird shit. So he would take Annalise when she was like 8 years old and make just those two would go house to house in their neighborhood. And she would have to sing 3 songs at each house.
Oh my God.
And sometimes he would make her do a solo with no music, no accompaniment at all, just her singing Silent Night to random people in their neighborhood.
That's tough.
That's child abuse.
Yeah, that's
Right.
child abuse.
That's
not a good
horrifying.
time.
Yeah.
That's not a good time.
And if you didn't do it and didn't have like a great attitude, you'd get a spanking.
that's the holiday spirit.
Yeah, it really is.
We did do Christmas concerts at my grandmom's house. So, like, you know, when you're growing up, we all play an instrument
Yeah.
in middle school and whatever. Our parents would all make us bring our instruments, and like all your cousins who you haven't seen from like Ohio, Indiana, whatever, we would have to like, we had 30 minutes to like create a band and
That
play
was-
a Christmas song. It was terrible, but it was fun.
I did that too. I played the drums for Smells Like Teen Spirit.
Hell yeah.
For Christmas?
Yeah.
Wow. How is that Christmas related?
I mean, that's just, they did a Christmas concert.
Oh, just
where
like a
if you
talent
had
show?
any sort of, yeah, it was pretty much just a talent show.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me and my buddy crushed that song. Now, like a lot of different countries claim Santa as living in their country. Like Canada granted Santa Claus citizenship, and they have like a postal code for the North Pole, like Santa's workshop, and it's ho ho, I believe.
Oh, yeah.
What did they do?
It's H0H0H0.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's cute. I get it. I see what
Mm-hmm.
you guys did there.
And then people from Finland they think he lives way up in Lapland, which I think is the most northern part of Finland. A lot of people try to claim him, but I don't think he can be claimed.
I think it's like Abraham Lincoln in that way.
I don't think foreign countries try to claim.
No, but many
Lincoln.
spots across the country claim him.
Oh yeah.
Like Kentucky does, Illinois does.
Oh yes.
You know?
Yep.
Oh, they're like
Yep,
land
you're
of
right.
Lincoln. Everyone thinks
Yeah.
they're long. Do you know who actually claimed the North Pole?
Who?
Russia.
Yes.
Russia took a submarine because there's no actual physical land there.
Mm-hmm.
They went all the way to the bottom of the seafloor and they planted a titanium Russian flag there, rust proof. And because the area underground the North Pole, it's thought to have maybe a quarter of the Earth's like oil and gas resources.
Yeah.
And so they claimed it, and the UN has not recognized their claim. There's a few other countries that have tried to claim it too. Denmark has, because Denmark owns Greenland, and they're like, no, it's part of the Greenland shelf that goes up there. And Russia's like, no, it's part of our continental shelf.
They say it's part of these hills, the Lomonosov Peninsula, and they're like, the hills just keep going all the way exactly to
Yeah.
the North Pole, so I guess it's ours now.
How deep is the water?
2.5 miles.
Is it? Well,
2.5 miles.
I'm not
deep?
going to fact check you on that, but I do know the Arctic Ocean is the shallowest ocean.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
2.5 miles seems pretty damn deep.
Yeah.
I know
What?
under the ice, they said it's like 12 to 13,000 feet deep.
Okay,
Under
damn.
so I don't know how long that is in miles, but it's pretty.
No,
still
that's
pretty
2.5. Yeah.
deep. Yeah.
Now, if they were like,
5,200.
I feel like the world needs to get with the Christmas spirit. We should tap those resources, and it should go into a fund called the Santa Fund, and that money only goes to alleviating like global problems.
No. I think presents. Like, you know,
Yeah.
global issues. No way. You want everybody to have, like, that's a PlayStation 5 for everybody.
Yeah, if we just tap the North Pole,
Yeah,
every
that'd be
kid can have a
sick.
PlayStation 5, but then you
Yeah.
have kids who don't even have a TV or
Get 'em one.
electricity.
Throw it in the cart.
Those kids just might want like water or food.
How much did
Not a
you wish
PS5.
growing up that you could go on one of those shopping sprees like on the supermarket sweeps, where you would see like poor kids sometimes that get to go to like Toys R Us.
Yeah, those poor kids are so lucky. They were. Do that stuff.
Well, I was poor growing up. I wanted that to happen to me.
I know every year I got like $100 from my uncle for my birthday. I could spend on anything I want, and they would take me to the mall, and I felt like King Dingaling. Because you go to Claire's where everything was $2, and you get like 50 sparkly hair dolls.
Oh yeah,
you're like king of the block. So I kind of got that feeling. But yeah, no, that'd be sick.
My grandparents would do that with me, but they had one rule: no toy guns.
No toy guns. I had a toy knife that would I got it on the Jersey Shore boardwalk where you'd stab and it would go in. It looked like it went in.
Yeah.
And my mom made me get rid of it because she was afraid I'd accidentally confuse it for one of our real knives.
What about the ones that had like the headband that went over and it looked like it was going through your grape?
Well, I never had one of those, but I'd like one. Christmas is coming. Could be
good one for you, Kate.
Yeah.
Now, who actually discovered the North Pole? It was one of the last places that humans went to. Like Antarctica, that was the South Pole, that was reached by humans before the North Pole. And there was a lot of debate around who found it first. For a while, it was this guy Perry, but like recently, maybe the early 1900s, they like did more research and they were like, this dude was definitely lying.
No.
How did they figure that stuff out? Yeah.
Because he said like he had been tracking his movements, and then like all of a sudden when he made that last dash to the North Pole, they were like the speed at which he was traveling tripled or something like that. And they're like, the only way is that he could have maybe made it in that time is if he went in a straight line. But in his logbooks, he was talking about all these detours he had to take and stuff. And even if he did make it, he had lost 8 toes due to frostbite. So he was on a sled. So he probably never actually set foot on the North Pole.
Just probably put his hand down.
Yeah, maybe.
Started breakdancing.
Maybe put his hand down. But there was a lot of debate. It was a very heated argument back in the day.
I mean, think about how miserable that would be. Because now you have like all kinds of super expensive, super nice, like Canadian Goose jackets that you'll be okay with.
Yeah.
They didn't have that in the early 1900s. Like to get there and to explore, how did they all not freeze to death?
One of my friends actually used to work in the archives at the Smithsonian Museum down in DC, and she let me go like up into their like attic where they have all the stuff, and the section that she showed me where I could open drawers and look at like the first Arctic explorers' boots and coats and gloves and shit. Whoa. And it was like the thin ass shit I'd put on my toddler in the fall. It was like I was like, holy shit, how did they do this with? Yeah, it was crazy. I don't know how they did it.
I know they found like for Lewis and Clark, they would find like mercury deposits from their shit, and that's how they could tell where they were. Like they did heat signatures over different spots where they were supposed to go, and the mercury seeped into the soil, and so that's how they were actually able to confirm the spots that they were at was the mercury deposits. So like in the last 20 or 30 years, they figured out that they actually went further than they thought that Lewis and Clark actually traveled. And they went way out of the way sometimes, and then they would come back because they would find different parts that they would have only had if it was Lewis and Clark.
But how, if the North Pole's always moving, how could you prove that you were actually there? Like, how could you...
it's not like you could take a selfie out there.
Back then, yeah. Like, how did they prove it?
That there was some way for them to track their coordinates.
Okay.
Being like, I'm at this latitude or something like that. I'm not...
Probably with the sun, angles of the sun and shit like that?
Yeah. Because when you're at the North Pole, there's no time zones. It's just the sun only rises and sets once a year, which is insane. But I don't know, because I think when Perry came back and was like, I reached the North Pole, they were like, prove it. But how was he supposed to prove it?
Right.
I don't know if they had cameras then.
Yeah, and how would he know that, like, now you have GPS coordinates, so you can pretty much guess that, or, like, know that you're in there. But I would imagine if you're that close to magnetic north, your compass would have to be going crazy, too, right? Because you're closer to the center. I would imagine, kind of like the little... thing they have on Ghostbusters whenever they're getting closer and then it eventually like goes crazy. Don't you think a normal 1900s style compass would also be going nuts?
But it's confusing because the magnetic north can be over 1,000 miles away. So maybe you're on the North Pole, but the magnetic north is south of you then. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, you're like, wait a minute. I would die immediately. I would never make it more than a couple days out there.
Yeah, because there's not a lot of animals up there to hunt and feed on. maybe in the summer you see a lot more, but in the winter it gets pretty barren. But the first person confirmed to have made it to the North Pole was this guy Roald Amundsen, and he took an airship up there.
What's an airship? Like a big ass?
Like a blimp.
Oh.
Whoa.
Yeah. Isn't that cool?
Good year.
I wonder if he like landed the blimp up there.
Dude, that's crazy because you would think the winds there would be nuts.
Yeah, dude, it was
Like
a big ass blimp.
Like how big
Look at the
they
size
are.
of that
Holy
thing.
shit.
Yeah, it'd be like a sail, right? Like catching all that wind.
Yeah.
How would it not be jostled about?
I have no idea. They had to have left from a nearby, whatever the nearest like solid land is, and just hauled ass with those little fans on the back. Yeah, I have no idea. But
Yeah.
isn't that how China's been sending the balloons over the top?
Yeah.
Remember the other year when everyone's like, China sending these spy balloons over top us? That's how they were going like up and over the North Pole, right? And coming down our way. So
Like now, I've probably seen spots close to the North Pole because whenever I would fly to China, I think they've had to change their routes because now they can't fly over Russian airspace. But
yeah.
we would always go kind of up and over the Arctic to get to China. Like it's like takes the same time to get from Chicago to China as it does New York because Chicago's closer. It just goes up and over. And sometimes I would look out the window and you just see just a crazy expanse of tundra.
that's cool.
Maybe I set eyes on the North Pole. Who knows?
Yeah, I've done that on the flight back from Japan. I always wondered how it was faster actually for us to go from Japan to Detroit than it was Japan to LA.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, we can thank the North Pole for that.
Yeah,
Thank
shout
you,
out to North Pole. This story from 1987 is pretty wild too, where a Tokyo motorcycle shop, they sent a racer out, and he was bound to the North Pole on a Yamaha TW200. He had 5 other members in his group, and they traveled 1,200 miles over sea ice in conditions so extreme that at times the motorcycle could only travel 30 feet per hour. It took the adventurer 44 days to reach the destination.
Damn.
That sounds miserable. Miserable.
out Shinji
Why would you not
Kusama.
take a? I
30,
mean,
30 feet per hour, yeah.
Yamaha also makes snowmobiles. Why not do that?
That would have been a much better.
You know?
You're right. That probably would have been a much better thing.
Not as cool, though.
30 feet per hour would be unbelievably frustrating.
Yeah, I don't know how they kept going on that. And it's uneven ground and ice and snowdrifts and all that shit. So he's probably having to zigzag and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Crazy.
But yeah, so nowadays the North Pole is a lot more accessible than it once was. I think you can like book expeditions there as a tourist, and they have something called the North Pole Marathon. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that, Kate?
Yes, this is another thing I went down a rabbit hole on last night besides magnets. Since 2003, the North Pole has hosted a marathon in April for the world's most extreme athletes. It's a regular 26.2 mile race, and it started with an Irish guy who was like, I'm going to go up there. I just feel like running a marathon up there. He did it, started inviting some friends. At first, it was 2 helicopters would drop people off. Well, first, he had these Russian friends who would bring a helicopter up there, drop a tractor down, and the tractor would carve out this 5-kilometer path of sorts on the ice. And then 2 helicopters would come in and drop like 2 groups of his racer buddies or whatever. They do it and leave. These days, you can get a ship. Guess how much? Like the 2025 marathon is coming up. It's this big, beautiful, it's the world's only luxury icebreaker ship. You can
sounds
pay
sweet.
between 50.
Wait, I want to guess.
Oh, sorry.
I think that it's going to be, I was going to say $60,000 to $120,000.
$50,000 to $140,000.
Okay.
And the journey, they do it. This race is actually going to be in July. The journey starts on like July 2nd, and they don't get back home till the 22nd, because first they have to go to like somewhere like way up in like Sweden or something like that, and they have to spend a couple days running and acclimating a little bit.
Oh, that makes
And
sense.
then it takes them so long to break through the ice. It takes them like a week to chop through to get to the North Pole area. But the pictures of it are crazy. They have to run this. It's like a 2.62 mile loop. They have to run it about 10 times to complete the marathon. And It's constantly moving and shifting. And because there are no landmarks anywhere the runners look, they say it's one of the most mentally tough races because each lap you have no idea, how far did I just run? I feel like I was just here. Like they have no idea how far they've really gone. And there's not a ton of markers and stuff. They also have to, because polar bears are up there, it's the only marathon with shotgun guards looking out for polar bears to keep people safe from the polar bears. It takes generally between 5 to 7 hours to finish. And that's even with like big time marathon runners. So they say this one is more about like the toughness of it all than actually doing it. And they run it in snowshoes. I don't know if you've ever walked in snowshoes. It's so hard.
Yeah, I've walked.
People will train for it the rest of the year there was a guy I was reading about who was from Coney Island, and every morning he would put on his snowshoes even in the middle of summer, and people would be like, why the fuck is this guy running in snowshoes down the beach? But there's ice, there's snow drifts, that even the parts they plowed to make the thing like come over it. And the extreme cold, like people's body temperatures get all jacked up because it's like -40 or something sometimes up there.
Because you have to have complete cover. Like in that cold, you can't even have your eyes exposed. You can't have anything exposed or it'll be frozen. So you're basically running in a moon suit.
Yeah, it's crazy that they do this. So I thought this was interesting too, and I'll be quick about this, but this marathon is owned and managed by Runbuck, and it's a prestigious running club. There's only one person in this club for every 50 million people on Earth.
Wow.
And membership, you can't buy it. It's earned. To join, you must complete one marathon on all 7 continents, plus the one at the North Pole.
Where you at, Tyler?
There are only there's only 125 men and 34 women in this club as of right now.
How many?
There's 125 men and 34 women.
Wow.
So, and this is a picture of the marathon. I don't know if you can see, like there's their little loop and there's the ship. And there's like huge holes all over the ice.
I didn't. Yeah, they legit had to carve a spot for it to go on the water.
Yep.
Wow.
It's crazy. So it's like solid ice the whole way through. And then there's big holes in the ice and it's shifting and moving the whole time. It's crazy.
I want to ride on one of those icebreakers. I want to do that. Like with the Coast Guard or something. I think that would be really fun.
I would rather ride on an airship. I think that's my number one transport I would like to experience before I die.
Blimp?
A blimp.
I think we can make that happen.
Yeah, it's tough because it's like I don't think you can buy tickets on a blimp anymore, but we obviously have a few like the Goodyear blimp, and you just have to be invited. You have to be a notable person who gets an honorary invite on a blimp.
I think you could get that.
Yeah, I think you could.
I could swing it.
Do you want to know a fun fact about the Backstreet Boys and NSYNC?
Have they been on a blimp?
Yeah, I'd love that.
You know, they're Lou Pearlman. Do you remember that name?
Yeah. That's the guy that was like their manager or whatever.
Yeah.
He like created those bands. He started putting ads in the paper for, these boy bands. He created NSYNC. He created Backstreet Boys.
New Kids on the Block too.
I don't know if New Kids on the Block, but definitely. But you said it with confidence, so I believe you.
Yeah.
But his thing before that was he had a blimp company, and unfortunately, he would make this blimp, send it up, and it would come crashing down. He'd make this blimp. His blimps kept crashing. Turns out they're pretty sure he was running a huge blimp insurance fraud scheme, which is how he got the initial money. Basically, we have NSYNC and Backstreet Boys in American culture because Lou Pearlman had a blimp crashing scheme.
Lou Pearlman, I think he was a pretty well-known scumbag.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Big time. Bit of a creep.
Scumbag.
Anyways.
Did any of them accuse him of molestation? I don't want to tarnish Lou Pearlman's name. But
I wouldn't be surprised.
Maybe that was just the guy from Nickelodeon.
Not that I know of, but I watched a documentary. Maybe he did. I watched a documentary, and some of these boys from, like, I'm making this up, but like S Club 7 were like, we lived with him alone our whole teenage years, and he was a nice man. It's like, that's strange.
Oh, I mean, what are parents thinking?
I don't know.
Like, I cannot imagine sending my kids away for something like that.
A lot of these kids were from Orlando. I feel like Orlando
different.
Parents are different.
This is an ABC News headline about Lou Pearlman. Music manager more interested in boys than bands.
Yikes.
Yeah, that's...
Yikes.
Right. Anyways, look up his blimp history. It's fascinating.
But, yeah, I wouldn't turn down an invite on an icebreaker. But for me, I think it goes blimp, sub, and then icebreaker. Although submarines, they kind of took a hit after that Millionaire went down.
Yeah.
trying to see the Titanic.
I don't think a
want
military
zero part of that.
Yeah, I don't think a military submarine is what you would have to go like civilian, private, because if you go down in a military one, there's no windows or anything, so you can't even see. Like I could tell you right now that we're in a submarine and it'd basically be the same thing. Like we're just in a closed area.
Yeah, you're cramped. It's claustrophobic. I got to tour the submarine that they have in the museum in Chicago. It's like the only captured Nazi submarine in the U.S. And it was, it wouldn't have been pleasant to be on for more than like a half hour. But like when I was young, I would read that book, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. And that was about Captain Nemo and his like tricked out sub, the Nautilus. And he would just cruise all over the world. And that thing looks sick, but I don't really think those exist at the moment. Like no one has like a luxury sub.
That we
No, but that would be great. There has to be, right? Like if that one that went down to the Titanic, like that one has big windows that Steven Spielberg takes down.
Well, then there was that
Oh,
Elon.
not Steven Spielberg.
There was that
James
Elon
Cameron.
Musk type guy who built his own luxury submarine in like Sweden or Norway or something.
Oh, yeah.
Remember? And then the journalist was like, "Oh," he's like, "Come aboard and you can write about it." And then he chopped her up into pieces on the submarine.
Yeah.
And that was it.
You're either going to have a great time or you're going to get murdered.
Yeah,
That's the only things that you could do on a submarine.
Alternatively, if you were like, Kate, here's $100,000 to come down to the bottom of the ocean on a submarine, I'd say no. I never want to be on a submarine.
What?
I would like
Yeah.
to film
That's
that 'cause I'm
'cause
tired
you
of people
are
asking
Katie
me to go on
Adventures.
I don't blame you.
submarines. I don't want to go to space. I don't want to go on a submarine. I don't want to go skydiving.
Space, 100%.
I want to go to space, yeah.
Fuck no.
I want to do that same jump that Red Bull guy did.
Oh yeah.
I'm not trying to go
Top
to
of
space that way. I'm not trying to fall from space.
Yeah.
I'm trying to float in space.
Yeah, I want to float, period.
Well, you can do those. They actually have the indoor skydiving thing in Chicago.
We've done iFly.
Yeah,
Like we've
we've
done
done
that.
that.
I'm talking about like legit weightlessness, not doing like, because that one just is a simulation of parachuting.
I would do the airplane
Sky-
from that
or
OK Go
free
video.
fall. Yeah.
Where
Yeah.
Before we move on, instead of a blimp, I want to go somewhere with that parachute that has like the big fan on the back that like farmers will take out to
Yeah.
survey their crops.
you would absolutely die, but you'd have a great time.
I
until
would.
that moment
Like
of impact.
if
Yeah.
maybe
yeah,
I'll
I've
wait
seen
till
those.
I'm like 80, because I want to die in an unbelievable fashion when I'm
you
like
should do
80.
that.
Like I always thought it'd be fucking sweet. Super Bowl is going on. I jump out over a plane and just plant myself 50-yard line. People would talk
Hell
about it
yeah.
for generations.
Hell yeah.
No, I wouldn't hurt anybody else, but it would be like whenever, who's that dude that had the sledgehammer and him and his brother used to crush watermelons?
Oh, the Gallagher.
Yeah, the Gallagher brothers.
yeah.
Yeah. I want to do that with my own body.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jesus.
You could do it for free if you got like an ad from a funeral home or a,
Yeah, that's not how I'm trying to go. I think maybe when I was 80,
Painless.
I'd be willing to try heroin, and maybe that would kill me.
I think that's more my
Okay.
speed too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's more my speed.
Get
What?
crocodilia?
No,
I do
not,
think if
not crocodile.
what's that?
That's like another drug that like turns you into a zombie.
Yeah, and you
okay,
like
no
eat
thanks.
people's
But
faces.
no, by all accounts, heroin is a good time. It's just a little too addictive.
Yeah.
But when you're 80, you know.
Yeah.
Back to the North Pole
Mm-hmm.
and just Santa Claus in general. Do you want to go over some other crazy traditions from
Yeah.
around the world?
Yeah.
Let's go over it. First up,
Let's talk about Schmutzli.
okay.
Schmutzli's from the Swiss German region. And so Santa goes around. He's the one who delivers the gifts. And then Schmutzli tags along too. And he carries a twig broom that he uses to spank all of the naughty children. Because people were like, okay, Saint Nick was a saint. We can't have him doing anything bad to children. So we're going to throw this guy, Schmutzli, as his little sidekick, who just, it's kind of like good cop, bad cop.
Basically, a lot of the Santa Claus traditions from Europe were created by desperate parents with sassy ass toddlers who needed, Santa's going to come and whoop your ass if you don't whatever. Because I swore I wasn't going to. But with my 3.5-year-old, I've been dropping that, he's watching you, right?
Yeah.
Which is creepy as fuck. It's creepy as fuck. It feels wrong to say. But he pushes his brother, and I'm like, I just want you to know, I'm not mad. I don't care. Go ahead. Santa saw that.
I wonder-
And then he's like, what? He like panics. It's great.
When do you think we established that in American culture that Santa Claus was omniscient and omnipresent? Like that he knows your thoughts and he knows when you're thinking. He can see you when you're sleeping. So you're basically giving 2 of the major 3 attributes of God under, like, for St. Thomas Aquinas, you're giving that to Santa Claus. And that's the reason why there's a lot of Christian traditions that no longer will practice it, because I think they realize we are establishing for Santa some of the main characteristics that we give God.
I think those characteristics scare people to stay in line.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
again,
Same reason, really.
so parents are like, this scares us to stay in line. Let's do the same for our children.
Yeah.
I think it just works.
You get something good if you behave from both of them.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah, like I think the Puritans and the Pilgrims didn't celebrate Christmas
Yeah.
when they came to the New World, because they were like, this is pretty much a pagan holiday.
Yeah.
Like, we need to be focusing on the birth of Jesus Christ, not like a fat, jolly man in a suit. And it was the Dutch who had a colony in New Amsterdam. They're the reason that Christmas became so big here. They were the ones to bring their whole Christmas tradition, because they believed in Sinterklaas, which is just their version of Santa. And so we can thank the Dutch for the USA being a big Christmas country.
And then we said we're going to commercialize the fuck out of it.
Yeah.
We're going to suck all the good out of it and just make it about plastics. And it's been great.
Shout out Coca-Cola.
Oh,
Because
big time.
they crushed the Christmas ads.
Also, they did more for PR for polar bears than anybody else.
Yep.
Along the same lines as Schmutzli is Krampus.
Yeah, Krampus freaks me out. I don't even, the name alone gets the job done.
Really good movie. I don't know if you've seen it.
No.
It's like
I haven't.
Oh, it's funny. It's kind of scary, exciting. And Krampus, yeah, same deal. He was just the counterpart to Santa, who would deal with all of the naughty children, but scary looking. Like, he was kind of half man, half goat.
Yeah, yeah, horns and
Pass.
he looked kind of like a troll, right?
Yeah. He looked like the devil. I think he was kind of loosely based. Like, if Santa Claus is Jesus, then Krampus was the devil.
All right, the next one is 1,000% true. That in Japan they absolutely love KFC.
Kentucky Fried Chicken?
Did you? There is
China as well, I believe.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
There's so many Kentucky Fried Chickens across like Okinawa and Japan in general. It might be almost as prevalent there as like McDonald's.
Yeah.
They love that, and another one that they really love. I don't know if it's the same way in China. The A&W root beer store, like the restaurant.
Oh, no, they don't have those in China.
And a lot of times they'll be paired together.
Yeah.
So there'll be a third actually. So it'll be a KFC, an A&W root beer, and a Long John Silver will all be together.
Oh, yeah.
Japanese people fucking love hush puppies.
Well, I guess on Christmas, that's their big tradition. They don't really do Christmas stuff,
Yeah,
but
they
they
go
go
out
to
for-
KFC.
They go out for a fancy meal at KFC. I believe they do that in China too. It's crazy how much Christmas decorations you see in China. For where, like, when they established the Communist Party there, they were like, no religion. So Christmas in China has nothing to do with religion. It's just that people all over the world, whether you're Christian or not, love getting in the holiday spirit. They love putting up lights, all these crazy decorations. And then that night, yeah, instead of like a big family dinner that you would do, they just all go out to a fancy meal, often at KFC.
How much is it influencing in the Southern Hemisphere? Because so far we've only done Northern Hemisphere.
I feel like a lot of those countries, well, in South America's all Christian, right? So,
Lots of Catholic influence.
yeah.
Yeah, just I guess in South America you never have a white Christmas because it's their summer.
Right. That's why, like, I wonder if they do it in like July.
No, they still celebrate it in December, but
that's trash.
I wonder if their depictions of Santa have him in like
Board
warm
shorts.
clothes. Yeah,
He's Santa
see
down there is
that.
doing. He's
Yeah.
going hippo mode in Lake Titicaca.
yeah,
Oh, yeah. I think Australia does that. They're,
yeah. I
Sometime
searched
Christmas, yeah.
Australian Santa and it's just him in board shorts.
Is it really?
Yeah,
I mean, I think you go, if you're Santa, your course of action, you start at the North Pole and you go like a spiral down the earth. And then eventually you're like, oh man, I'm getting super tired. I need to relax for a little bit, go out and get some. And then you're cold again when you get to the South Pole.
easy peasy.
Also, North Pole, no penguins.
No, only South. Sad.
Sadly.
just polar bears. I have a riddle for you. All walls face south. What color is the bear?
All walls
All
face out. What
walls
color is the
face-
bear?
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say white because I'm dumb. White.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go white because it's snow. Yeah.
Well, it's white because the North Pole is the only place where you can have a house where all walls face south.
Oh.
And like the only bear on the North Pole is
Polar.
the
Is the
polar
polar
bear, so it's
bear.
always going to be white.
Okay.
What are we doing around the world on Christmas? What are some cool traditions we got going on?
Well, we did it. We dropped a pin in it already, but Oaxaca. Isn't that how you say it?
Oaxaca.
Oaxaca, yeah.
Oaxaca.
They have one. I don't know if you experienced this with Soul of Jarrett, though, where it's a night of the radishes. And on December 23rd, it features really intricately carved radishes displayed in scenes. So I imagine, like biblical scenes. So I imagine it's just like what we do for Halloween with pumpkins.
Yeah.
But that's some big radishes. You're like a real artisan if you can create a major
yeah.
scene on a radish.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe they
Ooh.
grow them big down there.
I would like Venezuela, though. I think it would kill me. In Caracas, it's customary to roller skate to church that morning. Roads are closed to cars so skaters can safely glide through the streets. That's just fucking fun.
Yeah, that's
way better
great.
than our turkey trots and shit that we do.
Yeah, but you
I
know
love
somebody's
that.
out there ruining it, like doing backward skate and like
I love
grinding
it.
on stuff.
I love it.
Probably with their fancy rollerblades with 5 wheels instead of 4, just absolutely crushing it.
Obviously, I'd be pulling somebody on a bicycle with a jump rope like Napoleon Dynamite. I love it. Norway, they hide their brooms. Fine by me. Hate sweeping. Keep the evil spirits from stealing their midnight midnight rides are like witches.
I feel like that you're right. Europeans are real worried about their kids being bad.
Yeah. They scare the shit out of
Yep.
them. And I like that.
In Iceland, they have the Yule lads, which are 12 little people, I believe. And I think historically they were known to be very mischievous and they would kind of just wreak havoc on Christmas. Now they've been sugarcoated a bit. And instead of Santa coming through, the 12 Yule lads come through and they're the ones who drop off gifts.
That's got to be a derivation of our Elf on the Shelf. Has got to be
Yeah.
has to be
I
involved
like the
with
Yule
that.
lad.
The Yule
I
lads.
picture like Patty the Batty.
Yeah,
A miniature
yeah.
version of Patty the Batty rolling in with
like 12 soccer hooligans.
Yule lad's a lot more PC than calling somebody an elf,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
A little Yule lad.
Yeah, because remember in Elf the movie where the little person gets very offended if
you gotta
say elf
it
one
the
more
right way.
time.
You guys, I'm sure, are super familiar with this one. Log beating.
Oh yeah.
Hey, you guys beat your logs.
Fuck, we do everywhere.
They fill up hollow logs with treats on Christmas Day and then beat it with sticks to poop out the gifts and candy. So it's like a natural piñata. I really like that. The candy carving festival in Mexico, same thing with the radishes. In Africa, the giant lantern festival in the Philippines. Philippines?
The Philippines is not in Africa,
But that's
chaps.
okay.
That's all right.
Yeah, that's okay. Well, that's cool. Day of the Little Candies in Colombia. Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff.
Yeah.
I like the way that people surfing Santa in Hawaii. I saw that when I lived in California too. When I was stationed there on Christmas, everybody would go out into the water with their Santa hats on, and some dudes even had wetsuits that looked like Santa suits that they would wear out into the water. And I love that.
I also pulled up some weird traditions. You mentioned the pickle in a tree, but there's also fried caterpillars.
Ew.
Some South Africans eat fried caterpillars of the emperor moth as a festive delicacy.
I've had those.
Yeah? How is it?
Mopani worms is what
Oh.
they're called. And they're not great, but they're actually like one of probably the most common sources of protein in Southern Africa.
Oh shit.
I think Za's mom cooks them for me. I mean, they're not good. They're not good.
Another one was from Greenland, and this one's called matak, and they have whale skin with blubber. And I've watched a couple TikToks on how they do this. So not only in Greenland, but other parts of like Alaska, northern Canada, where Inuits live, they're allowed to kill and eat one seal a year, like per family. And the way that they do this is like, it sounds horrifying. Like the way, because I mean, seals, we look at them as like cuddly little creatures, you know, and they have these big knives that are rounded, and that's how they skin them and go. But you could tell they would have these feasts and like different from around town, like everybody would get together, and it's almost like a spiritual thing for them. So it's like a really important tradition, and it seems like it's across the world that they do this.
Yeah, fermented seabirds wrapped in sealskin.
That
Yeah,
sounds
not for me.
disgusting.
Not for me.
Yeah, no thank you. I'll stick with tamales on Christmas
Yeah.
morning. But there's also, because there was the log that was pooped out, pooped out a little bit of candy. There's more than that, though. There is this one. Teo de Nadal, right?
That's the pooping log.
Yeah, the pooping log. And then you have the Yule goat droppings.
The Yule goat was like a precursor to Santa Claus in some parts of Europe.
And they would leave their droppings around for candies and hidden treats.
So they would pretend a goat came. So the parents would be like, the goat came and pooped candy all over the yard. And it would be almost like Easter. And the kids would go pick up the candy. That's cute.
Exactly.
I think actually a reason that people decided that Santa lived on the North Pole was because a really old poem talked about Santa having his reindeer. That poem came out long before people were like, Santa's on the North Pole. But then they're like, okay, if we had to put him in a geographic location, where do reindeer live? They're always up in the Arctic. So they're like, he must be somewhere cold.
Santa's reindeer is so much better branding than Santa's caribou.
Yeah, whoever had that.
Which is essentially the same thing.
Caribou sounds kind of cool.
Yeah, but I mean, the song isn't nearly as good.
No.
It definitely works better for the songs. More poop. They have South Korean poop gifts.
What is up with? I had no idea that.
I didn't either until I started to look into it. And there's like all across the world they use poop. In South Korea, while it's not a widespread tradition, you have novelty poop gifts. And do you remember that when you've gone to South Korea? That they're like in little gift shops, there'll be all kinds of poop figurines.
Yeah, there was a poop-themed restaurant in Shanghai, and I'm pretty sure it was opened by South Koreans.
Hell yeah.
I wouldn't doubt that.
Good luck. Poop for good luck.
But yeah, that's Christmas around the world. Did you guys have any different tradition for Christmas?
I wanted to share some personal stories about my time in China.
Okay.
Because I was working as a teacher there at first, and multiple times I had to dress up as Santa. The first time, it was the day after I had been punched in the eye, the hardest I have ever been punched. My eye was just like sealed shut. And then if you like opened it, it was just blood red. And the next day I had to go into school and dress up as Santa Claus for our Christmas festivities. And I was like, I cannot go in with this eye. I'm going to scare the shit out of these kids.
Yeah.
So I wore shades. I just wore like fake Oakley shades.
Cool Santa.
Dressed as Santa. And the kids loved it. I looked kind of like a scumbag. Like at first when I showed up, the parents, one of the teachers was like, "Oh, can you take out the shades?" And I showed her my eyes. She was like, "Keep those on."
Yeah.
Keep those on. But it was a lot of fun. And then like a couple years later, I was like, we should film a video about me being Santa at Chinese schools. And I was no longer working as a teacher, but I saw an ad. They were like looking for a white guy to dress as Santa in like 3 or 4 kindergartens.
Your whiteface jobs in China are always some of my favorite stories.
Yeah.
And so I signed up, and I think I asked them, I was like, can I bring my friend as my helper elf? And they were like, yeah, sure. So I dressed my friend up as an elf.
I had dreams once.
And then for some reason, they were fine with me just bringing a camera guy along too.
You can thank him for that. He built it up in my workshop.
So we filmed that entire thing. Went to 3 kindergartens as well as a shopping mall. The shopping mall we weren't invited to. We were like, let's go be Santa at a shopping mall. And we found a stage in the mall, and we're just like, I think we were like, 5 RMB, and you can take a selfie with Santa Claus. And we like made like probably 200 RMB, and then got dragged out by the security guards.
What's the equivalent to dollars for that?
Like $30.
That's not bad.
Yeah, well, so we were charging only $1 per selfie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah,
I thought you made each.
I would feel
like,
bad
Jesus,
charging $30 per selfie. No.
Like it's Cameo?
Yeah. Oh, and then so over the course of my time in China, I filmed 3 Christmas specials. And the very first one I filmed, my friend out there, he worked in sourcing. And so he was like, I actually know a few toy factories. And like, I'll just say I need to go and check out some samples. You guys can come and film. And this was a couple weeks before Christmas. So we got to film in like a real life Santa's workshop in China.
Welcome to Donnie's Toy Factory and Stocking Stuffers.
And like see how the toys were made.
Sweatshop or?
It was a factory. It wasn't a sweatshop. I mean, they were all being paid.
Yeah.
And then, like, I was just going around, like, singing Christmas carols. Like, we made up this song, Conveyor Belt Rock.
Conveyor belt, conveyor belt, conveyor belt rock. Conveyor belts move all the toys to the box. Sewing and blowing a big teddy bears in the smoggy air. What a bright time, it's the right time to work the night away. Conveyor belt time is a swell time to make toys in the factory.
I hate when people say, oh, made in China, it's probably low quality. Look at this. This is not low quality. Look at those stitches. I mean, they're selling this so it must be all right quality.
That's when you used to do the lot thicker Boston accent, too.
Yeah, for sure.
My favorite part about that right now is you were lip syncing along while I was going. You still remember all the words.
I love that song. And then this
Your
was...
old videos from China, I could go down a rabbit hole all day on those.
Yeah, I mean,
So
this
good.
was preposterous. But that was, it's like, if you want to know where toys come from, a lot of them are made in Chinese factories. And yeah, I mean, they're not like... They're probably not great places to work, but they're not always as bad as they're made out to be.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think this factory had nets around it in case people tried to jump off the roof like they
It was
do,
no
like they
iPhone
do at the
factory,
Apple
yeah.
factory.
And Topgolf.
Yeah, that's nuts. Yeah.
He's making a list, he's checking it twice. He's gonna find out who's naughty or nice. Donnie Claus is going to town. He knows if you've been slacking. He knows if you make a mistake. We need these toys done by Christmas, so you better not show up late.
I know I'm asking a lot of you, but I want you guys to ask a lot of me.
We gotta work hard, we gotta aim high, making wicked good toys, I'm telling you why.
Plug it in, boom. You got a little talking thing that you can throw into the Christmas tree.
Donnie Claus is going to town.
The most absurd part of that video is that my friend didn't tell the owners of the factory that, like, okay, we're going to be filming a video there. So we showed up, and then he just goes into the main office and distracts the managers of the factory while we just, like, run loose around the factory filming a Christmas episode.
That's crazy, man.
Good times.
Yeah. Let's close up with favorite gifts growing up.
Ooh, rollerblades was up there. Rollerblades was a big one. Bad gift was the Scoodazzle. I asked for a Razor scooter. I got a discount Scoodazzle, and the handlebars were stuck like this. So I had to ride it goofy.
But still appreciate it.
I didn't. I was a little bitch about it.
I know, but you kind of got...
upset.
Oh, you didn't act like
I still
you'd
get
appreciate
upset
it?
when I think about it.
Yeah, you
Scoodazzle
should.
instead of the Razor. Well, how about you guys?
I mean, probably the N64 was by far the best gift I got once.
I feel like everybody, like my brothers, was. I remember when we got original Nintendo, like the scream that came out of his mouth of joy.
Yeah.
Like it's gaming systems for.
Yeah, when they first came out, mine was easily. I remember coming down the stairs when I lived at Pax River, Maryland, and there in Pax River, it was nothing but like deciduous forest area, and you could ride trails through the woods. And I came downstairs and I had a bike called the Huffy Mudslinger.
Oh fuck yeah!
And it had like mud flaps on the side so you wouldn't get all muddy, and it was like black and orange, and it just looked real aggressive. And I used to take that bad boy out and jump it off of docks into the water.
Oh hell yeah!
And made it back to Florida, and I would just go jump it off of like docks into alligator infested water to scare them away. It was awesome.
I have a question for you guys. What was your saddest Christmas?
Ooh.
I mean, probably some of mine were from Japan, just being like really lonely, you know, like not having any family for the first time and being away. Like I was 22, Kelsey wasn't here yet, and like my ex was gone doing some kind of training, so I was just like kind of hanging out by myself.
Yeah.
That sucked.
That was mine. I was in California, couldn't go home, so I went with this guy I was kind of seeing up to his mom's house in Sacramento, and they both then just like didn't talk to me the whole time. It was terrible. And then there was an earthquake that morning, and like it was just weird. We like went to Cracker Barrel for Christmas dinner, and no one talked, and
There was a lot of
it was
pain
miserable. There was
in
a
your
lot of
eyes
pain.
right there.
Yeah, it was a painful time in my life. That was tough. How about you?
Mine are both from China. One Christmas morning, I remember just taking bong rips with this Chinese girl who could barely speak English that I had met like 2 nights prior.
Like, man, what am I doing?
Yeah, that's just like, what am I doing? What am I doing with my life?
And that's when you went back home to start working at Kung Fu Cantina.
No. I still had a few more Christmases out in China. Some of them were fun because like you weren't with your family, but you could get like all your friends together and
Yeah.
just
All the
have
expats
a crazy
hang out,
feast.
yeah.
But there was another Christmas that most of my friends were traveling, and I wake up, the heat had gone off in my apartment.
Oof.
And so I'm just alone. All my roommates had left. And then like I walk across the street to this place called Caesaria's. Maybe you went in Japan. It's like the cheapest Western food you can get in Asia. You can like, you go in and they make these pizzas on a conveyor belt, but they're like $4 per pizza.
Mm-mm.
And I just had lunch there alone and then got food poisoning from
Oh,
the
God.
food there.
Cold-ass
So
apartment.
I went back to my cold ass apartment and I was just like puking.
The Christmas
Diarrhea
shits.
from Caesarea on
Yes.
Christmas morning. That's tough, man.
But then later that night, I went to a bar and met up with some friends and drank my sorrows away.
Yeah.
Man,
But yeah, it was dark.
the
I'm
bong
glad that-
rips one made me the saddest.
I mean,
No, the diarrhea.
Yeah.
$4 pizza
Something
diarrhea.
about the essence of the bong rips that got me. But
the bong rips, it was kind of nice. I was practicing my Chinese with this girl. That was so the night before we were having sex or trying to have sex, but I was a little drunk. I couldn't get it up.
Hell yeah.
And she goes, because she only speaks a little bit of English, she goes, "Oh, why does your little brother not like my little sister?"
Jesus.
And I was like, "Don't worry, it has nothing to do with your little sister. This has all to do with too much whiskey."
that wording alone would probably kill it for me.
Yeah.
That's tough.
Little brother, little sister. Jesus
Yeah.
Christ.
But for not knowing the language, good way to explain
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Good way to
Yeah.
Nice
explain
euphemism.
It. Yeah, nice euphemism. Good for her.
All right. That's
That
a
made me
much.
even sadder.
No, I think that's good. That's very relatable.
Yeah.
Now that we're back, we went from sad note to Donnie not being able to get his little brother up. So let's move on to some Getting Cultured.
Thanks for coming on, Kate.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Merry Christmas, you guys.
All right, now let's do a little Getting Cultured. We got our guy, Eddie. Eddie is in. He looks great. Not Mr. Claus, not Mrs. Claus. He's no other Claus but Eddie Claus.
Eddie Claus.
Eddie Claus, love it. He's also back from Turkey, got his hair done. You're going to want to check out the episode next week again to make sure you watch that. It's going to be our Istanbul episode.
Istanbul episode and a full recap with the Bald Stool crew.
Minus
Actually,
Eddie.
minus Eddie because he wasn't around for that. But we got him on Getting Cultured today. Eddie, I got to say, I was impressed with how independent you were out there. Like, it was your first time really leaving North America, right?
Yeah, I've only done Toronto as a kid for like a family vacation. And then I did like 18 spring break in Cancun. That's it.
All right. Because we like touched down. I was like, all right, we got a group dinner in like an hour and a half. And you're like, oh, I already got an appointment at a barber shop that's like 10 minutes away. I thought arriving in a place like Turkey, you were going to be kind of afraid to go out on your own, but you just hit the ground running.
Yeah, I could tell. You didn't think I was going to be a liability, but I think you thought I might be slight luggage at the very least.
Yeah, I thought you were going to be nervous, being like, I don't know, it's Turkey, it's near the Middle East, like we got to worry about terrorist attacks or something. But no, you were going out on your own.
He's a
calling
Chirac,
cabs.
baby.
Yeah, he just had a swivel everywhere you go.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly right. You're
like-
exactly
He
right.
hit up a Turkish bath on his own.
Yep.
Did you?
I did, yeah.
That was my gift last night at the White Elephant party here.
Oh, that was yours?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
The white, it was the ticket for 2 that I was going to pay for somebody to go to a Turkish bath. You should go with us too.
That's a good gift.
I would love to, but you apparently weren't a fan because the guy was a little too rough on you.
I was looking for more like a traditional sweat lodge type deal. Like there's a couple here that are awesome that I really like going to. And it's basically just like a wet sauna, dry sauna, cold plunge. And you kick back, you have beers, you watch TV, you watch sports, and you bullshit on some zero gravity chairs. So I was looking for that kind of vibe, just kill like 4 hours. I didn't know that it was going to be like an hour like bath and yeah, that's really what it was. It was a 30-minute haram, is it technically called?
Yeah, hammam.
Hammam, yeah. It's a 30-minute that, and then the guy just started bathing me.
Haram, very different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my apologies.
And when you go to the Russian bathhouse in town here, you don't have another man that's actually bathing you. But
No. You just it's literally like you're sitting in, let's say, a hotel sauna, except they're huge and like much better.
I wanted another man to bathe me. This is disappointing.
yeah, but he wasn't just bathing you; he was going to town, right?
Oh, this guy was going to town. This guy put me over his shoulder with one arm. That Turk was fucking me up, man. And it was a lot. I'll tell you that much.
And Donnie got the absolute dog shit beat out of his head.
Yeah, I saw that.
Oh, was that in India?
Yeah, that was in India. Yeah,
He got absolutely beat up.
we'll be talking about that on a future episode as well. But they love their head massages there, and you do get a little CTE every time you go in.
How'd you like the food?
You know what? Didn't love it.
Yeah.
He's a notoriously picky eater.
Yeah, but it's just it. But even so, there was the restaurant we went to the first night was good. I did enjoy that.
Okay.
Okay, that was probably my favorite food that we had on the whole trip.
Yeah.
But kebabs are just not my jam.
Yeah. Not an olive leaf guy?
No,
Oh,
it's not my jam.
I'm not an olive leaf guy.
No?
Are you talking about those like grape leaf things?
Yeah.
Yeah, which is also Greek food. That's like the worst appetizer you can serve at a party.
Okay.
There's like grape leaves filled with rice and a little vinegar. or
What about
something.
if dates are inside?
I'm a fan of dates. I like bacon wrapped dates. Those are incredible.
Like they brought out a couple boats, you know?
Yeah, like a sushi boat?
Yeah, but I could fuck with a sushi boat. I could fuck with a lot of other boats.
Wait, are you talking about those boat shaped?
Yeah, remember at
pizzas?
the day when we went with the tour, after the walking tour,
Oh,
they brought
okay.
over the boats of like meat.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I was
Meat
just
boat.
like, yeah, I could do it. Like, I don't know if I like kebab enough to boat it. You know, it's not a boat food for me.
Well, there'll be much more in Istanbul talk next week. Let's get to your question, Eddie.
My question is how do you know when to drink the water in wherever you are? Like, how do you know if it's safe, or what's like the standard protocol?
I mean, my rule of thumb is if I'm not in the U.S., I don't drink the tap water.
Really?
That's exactly my rule, too.
Yeah.
After a couple spots with bad experiences.
Because if there's two guys who I thought would be like, nah, you're fine. It would be you two.
No, you got to be careful of amoebas. Like, and just regular old diarrhea. Like the stories about Mexico, 1,000% true. And then maybe my worst experience ever, like water related. I was in Iraq and sitting in a house where sometimes you would go into a house and like the men would bring you food, like you would have like a fresh goat, or they would bring you like bread and have like the best and most rich tasting tomatoes, unbelievable cucumbers, everything tasted great. And then one dude brought over a bottle of water and like handed it to me. And like that's all, like it looked like the military water with the blue top on it. And he gave it to me, and he opened it for me and then gave it to me. And I was like, this tastes different. And he was like, oh, it's from the river.
Wow.
And I was like,
I mean, that's like even in the U.S., you don't want to be drinking river water.
and the
Well,
Euphrates
Iraq.
at the time had like bodies and shit.
And how much did you drink?
I mean, a good pool, because I like had walked in, like I was sweaty and sitting down. They had just given you chai, which is hot as balls after you walk in like 100-degree weather, like bags and everything. Yeah, that I had diarrhea so bad on the sides of roads. Like there's no toilets or anything. You're just absolutely blowing ass on the side of the road when it's over 100 degrees. And you got to put on, like you get hot and emotional whenever you have diarrhea anyways. Doing that where you can't breathe because you have so much shit on you. It's awful.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like every time you have to shit, you probably have to take off a bunch of equipment as
Yeah, you
well.
have to take off like the flak that covers your dick. You have to take off your full, and then you're standing out in the middle of nowhere with no like protection.
Exposed hole.
Yeah. Your butthole's right there. Looks like a bullseye.
Yeah, for real.
I think like ever since I got E. coli by lettuce at a cockfight that had been washed in poop water, I've been very careful about it. So, so there was this,
Washing in poop water is outrageous.
yeah. I mean, that's definitely what did it. It was not the burger. It was not the meat. It was the poopy lettuce water.
How do you know? Like you saw them wash it?
No, I don't know, but like the place I was in the Philippines, it's beautiful, but it was known for just not having like a safe water supply.
Okay.
Because like the tourism there blew up too fast, so they didn't have the infrastructure to actually like,
To do it.
to get people clean water. So then later I was in China. This was over Chinese New Year. Me and my friends were like, yo, let's like hop on the subway and see how far south we can go. Let's just like keep on going. And so we did that. We finally made it to the beach in Shanghai. It was not a nice beach, but we got hammered and then the sun was going down. We're like, we're not going to be able to make it back to our apartments. Let's just stay at the Howard Johnson here. They had a Hojo in China. And I remember like I woke up the next morning so hungover, puked all over my bed, and I just needed water. But this was still the middle of the night. Everything was closed. And I didn't want to start drinking the tap, but I had the driest mouth ever. So I had to keep on just boiling water and then like trying to sip it as fast as possible to quench my thirst. That was brutal.
That is brutal.
It's
so
like
nowhere. Like where is like closest to the U.S.? Like would you drink? What would you say?
I would drink it up in Canada. You'd
for
have
sure.
to assume it's got to be clean up there.
I did in Japan all the time.
Okay. Because wow.
Like my house in Okinawa, I don't think I ever drank bottled water or anything. Like it was just straight up tap water.
Okay.
I think when I was living in Italy, I drank some tap water. But Turkey, you're not supposed to do it. I had a friend that did it the last time I went, and he was sick for a couple days. And
Oh, really?
definitely not in India. And they say like sometimes people will sell kind of like fake bottled water. So it looks like legit, but they've just filled it up from the tap and then kind of like recapped it.
Got to hear that crack of the seal.
You got to be careful. I was even afraid to brush my teeth in India. I was brushing my teeth using bottled water just to play it super safe.
Yeah.
And then I was like, is it even safe to shower here? Because like when you take a shower, you might end up
Getting some water in the eye or something.
At least in your
sipping a little bit.
open holes you got.
Open holes, yeah. Mustache, like.
Oh yeah.
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 A little bit in there.
Speaking of water, the other question you wanted to ask was, does it rain every day in Ireland?
Yeah, that's what I was always told, that it's like every day. Like it could be for 10 minutes. It could be for longer. And I heard about Seattle too. I'm like,
It
every
probably
day?
rains more often than it doesn't.
I looked it up.
Yep.
150 to 225 days a year.
Did that sound lower or higher than what you thought?
Based on what the people talk about, I would have guessed that it was more. I would have guessed around 250, 275.
Yeah.
I would agree.
Yeah, it rained the morning of my wedding, and then like magically, like as we're about to start the ceremony, the clouds parted, and it stayed pretty dry the rest of the day. But if you're gonna get married in Ireland, it's definitely a crapshoot of whether it's gonna be raining or
Yeah,
not.
like
But the sunny day in Ireland is gorgeous. Like it's different than anywhere else. Mm-hmm. My favorite water I've ever drank was from a mountain spring near Banff, Alberta, Canada. That was one where you could just put your cup in the water and take a sip.
Oh, that sounds nice.
Yeah, and it was so cold too. The water was probably around 45, 50 degrees.
Like, you ever seen The Water Boy?
Oh yeah, it would have gone in that little thing
His,
for
like,
sure.
glacial thing. I would love to drink water out of that.
I'd love to have some of that. The best water on earth.
No, right?
There's a show on Bravo, Vanderpump Rules.
Yeah.
Where a lot of them stopped drinking, so they are into different types of water, and they had water flights from different places around the world. Like they would have Fiji, but not like Fiji water, like water from Fiji. They had Iceland. They had like water from the Alps, Canada, and they go through the different ones, and they're like, they have like a water sommelier.
That's awesome. I like that.
Yeah, fancy.
Yeah. In Europe, it was kind of hard to find seltzer water. Like, yeah, you could get a big jug of it. They would have like one brand, but I feel like the U.S. loves their seltzer water. We got LaCroix, Polar,
Perrier.
there's a bunch of different brands.
See, I thought that came about in Italy.
That's what I thought. I thought Perrier.
Pellegrino, yeah. Like
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
can,
San Pelli.
Yeah, you can
My-
get a
my
nice
fault.
bottle of Pellegrino, but I don't think you can buy like a 12-pack of LaCroix like we do
Oh, yeah.
here, where
A
they have all
locally
these
sourced
like,
IPA.
Can I
you
give
have
you-
like 20 different flavors of seltzer water these
Oh
days.
yeah,
Can I give you a fun fact about LaCroix?
I'd love one.
The same people who manufacture and distribute LaCroix make Old Style.
Really?
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
That is.
go.
I'm an old style guy. I like old style.
Old Style's good.
For a cheap beer. It's good.
Yeah,
it's
for
no
sure.
Miller Lite.
Yeah, obviously Miller Lite's. I'm a Miller Lite guy, but
Yeah,
yeah, I don't mind mixing an Old Style once in a while.
yeah. I like the bar signs of old style maybe more than old style. The best outside a little dive bar.
Yeah, then
Sign.
that's how you know. There's a Chicago place that's been there forever.
Yeah.
As if they have that Old Style sign in the front.
Yep.
I do think it's weird when people in the U.S. will refuse to drink tap water. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
With as much
feel like-
innovation and care that goes into our water, like New York City have some of the cleanest water.
I mean, yeah.
But
That's
now-
that's the great thing about living in the U.S. When you travel to other places like Mumbai, it's a very. If you think the trash in New York is bad, like Mumbai takes it to a different level. But also, you can't drink the tap. You can be living in the largest city in the U.S. There's trash all over the place, and you still know when you get home, crank open the tap, you're getting clean, good tasting water.
I feel like the narrative's changing on that though. Like it feels like now people are getting into this like fluoride argument.
Yeah,
Have you
because
heard
people
of
are
it?
fucking stupid.
Yeah, I don't know anything. I'm just saying what.
There's a reason
been
why
hearing.
our teeth in this country is better than most countries around the world, and it's not because people have access to dental care. Most people actually don't. It's because there's fluoride in the water.
Good to know.
Okay. Controversial. No, well, because isn't like wasn't
RFK is
RFK
again-
said the first thing he's going to do is get all the fluoride out of our water.
Yeah.
And
Which
then-
the dental association is like, are you insane, bro?
Okay.
See, that's the thing.
But luckily, you have a dude without any type of PhD or anything like that in charge of the CDC
Yeah.
and the FDA. Smart.
Yep. And according to Alex Jones, it's turning the frogs gay.
That might be true.
That-
I have seen an uptick in gay frogs.
yeah. All right. Well, Eddie, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays.
We're saying it again on Drop a Pin.
Thanks
Merry
for coming
Christmas.
on.
I love it. Merry Christmas, fellas. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. All right. We'll see you back next week. Make sure that you subscribe and all that stuff, review the pod and all that. We'll see you back next week for Istanbul.
Yes. And also, if you guys want to be on Getting Cultured in the future, I got a phone number for you. Might take me a second to pull it up, but, I'll find it. We might just have to cut and then cut back in to meet. No. I'll find this in a second because we want to hear from you guys again. We shared the number our first episode and then haven't shared it again, but it is, just got to get all the way down here. Okay. The number is...
Oh, man, this feels like The Price is Right.
Come on, Eddie. Okay, here we go. The number is 872-254-3212. So call in. We'll put that number on the screen. And remember to like, share, and subscribe. And have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Or a Happy Hanukkah.
Or Kwanzaa.
Or Kwanzaa. I still have really yet to meet anyone who celebrates Kwanzaa.
What about Festivus?
Haven't met anyone who celebrates Festivus unironically.
That's fair. How do you feel about the flying spaghetti monster, just overall?
There's the Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster. I think that was just made for the internet. And
No, it definitely was. I read
Yeah.
the book, though. It's wonderful.
okay.
There's a book about the theology of it.
Yeah. Do you actually agree with?
I would be
Some
a
of the
flying
tenets?
spaghettiist for sure. It's all about being nice and kind. That's basically it.
Who can't get on board with that?
Yeah. All right. Happy flying spaghetti monster too.
Feliz Navidad.
Hey. Ooh.